Hey everybody, welcome back to Challenge the Call with Max and Avery. I'm your host Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
We're coming at you with a special episode today. The draft is going to be happening somewhat soon, so we are going to do a little mock draft just for the first round. We're going to go through a list on NFL.com and kind of use that as our basis, but we're gonna put in the guys that we think are legit or that are going. So, Avery, are you excited? You ready to go?
Dude, I am pumped. This is my wheelhouse right here, guys. I love analyzing mock drafts. I love to see where these college players will end up playing their NFL football. I'm ready to get at it. I'm ready to see who we line up with Chicago, who these experts have Chicago picking. I am very excited to see where major players will land. So let's go.
All right. So start us off. NFL.com has the number one overall pick by the Carolina Panthers, as the trade happened with the Bears. They have them taking C.J. Stroud. How do you feel about that one?
Bold prediction. For most of the year, it was going to be Bryce Young. It was going to be Bryce Young. He was like the solidified number one pick. And after what was Ohio State's playoff game, and C.J. Stroud just terrorized Georgia's defense. He shot up through the draft boards. And I think this is just kind of dependent on who was at number one. If it would have been a different team, it's like a preference base, I think. So, but my personal opinion, I'm going with CJ Stroud also. I think they got that spot on.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I think it's definitely Stroud over Bryce. Bryce Young's a midget. I'm not literally, but
I'm not going that far. But he was 5'11", according to the measurements. They might have been
measurements.
They might have been generous, but he definitely has a lot of Kyler Murray aspects about him.
Just you look at some of the successful quarterbacks in the league right now, and they're taller, they're bigger, they're faster. I mean, Bryce Young's, I'm sure, is fast. He's tinier, of course, he's fast, but still, just there's a certain size component that started to come in with quarterbacks anymore, and Bryce Young just doesn't have quite that same size. Not saying he can't get the job done or anything. I'm sure he could be a just fine quarterback in the NFL, but we are talking the number one overall pick here. We're talking best of the best in the draft class. So if you're looking from that aspect, it's got to be C.J. Stroud. He's bigger, he's an accurate passer, and like you said, Ohio State just terrorized Georgia in that playoff game. So Stroud, he built a name for himself. Not that he already hadn't, but he solidified his name, I think, in that game.
And the big aspect with Stroud too, last thing I'll say about it is he showed how mobile he was in those playoff games. He had to get away from Georgia's defensive line. And he finally got to show that one aspect of his game that people were saying, well, he's not a mobile quarterback. No, he is.
And that helps him a ton. Thanks, Georgia, because they just showed everyone he can move. Because like we've talked about in previous episodes, in today's league, you need a mobile quarterback. You need a running quarterback that can take off when he needs to. C.J. Stroud can do that.
Yeah, the new age NFL, it's crazy. Especially new age quarterback in the NFL, it's crazy. Yeah. That is probably why.
For sure. So we're locking in C.J. Stroud, quarterback from Ohio State, going to the Carolina Panthers. Next, we have the Texans up. NFL.com shows them taking Bryce Young.
Yep, and I 100% agree. Bryce Young has every single quality that we just said about C.J. Stroud. He's just 4 inches shorter. That's it. Bryce Young, he is a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He had a successful career at Alabama. He's even won the Heisman Trophy. But when you compare both C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, it's okay, who's the prototypical quarterback? And that's C.J. Stroud. But that's why Bryce falls at number 2.
Definitely. Like I said earlier, I don't think that he's not going to be a great quarterback or anything like that. It's just for so long we've compared him and Stroud. And that's been the big back and forth. It's C.J. Stroud versus Bryce Young. Who's better? Who's going one? Who's better? And in my head, it's just undoubtedly Stroud. Mainly because of that height factor. That is the only thing that I think is limiting Bryce Young's draft stock ever so slightly is just, hey, you're not even 6 foot for a quarterback. Come on, you got to be able to see over your linemen, don't you? But
there's a lot of great quarterbacks, and this is in defense of Bryce Young. Drew Brees, he was under 6 foot. You're looking at Baker Mayfield, he's under 6 foot.
Well, I don't know if we can call Baker quite great or anything yet. He's kind of getting bounced around right now. But
Russell Wilson, before this year, was known
I
as.
was just gonna say, like before this year.
So, like, there are aspects that you can play that position at. And Kyler Murray, I wouldn't say he's a great quarterback, but he's an average NFL quarterback. And I think you can have an average, decent, like above average career with being a shorter guy at the quarterback position.
And to build on to your argument, Kyler Murray would be a lot better quarterback too if he just had a little more like focus and desire.
Yes.
Like that. Yeah, that's the thing. He's like, for him, it's nothing physical that's holding him back. It's completely mental. So that's just a whole other story in itself. But
for sure,
yeah, I'm with Bryce Young, number 2. We solidifying that.
Yep, Bryce Young going number 2 to Houston.
Bryce Young is number 2. Next, speaking of Kyler Murray, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Except, this has them trading with the Colts. I don't know what all they're trading, but they have the Colts picking round number 3. Do you agree with that? Do you think there's going to be a trade that happens there?
I disagree. I disagree with this mock draft. The one thing I do think is the Arizona Cardinals need a edge rusher. And at number 3, they are not going to pass up the best defensive player that probably should go number 1 if there wasn't for these 2 quarterback needy teams, and Will Anderson at number 3. I think they definitely take that outside linebacker and Will Anderson, and they run with this opportunity.
My big thing with this is that I can't see what they actually traded. Like, all I can see is that, the Colts have the number 3 pick from the Cardinals. I can't actually see what was offered in return or what else is moved. So, but if I did have to say the Arizona Cardinals are picking, the very next one is the Arizona guy. It looks like they just switched 3 and 4.
Yeah.
So, and they have Will Anderson going as pick number 4. So I don't know what benefits them exactly from.
Right.
Wait, did you say Will Anderson and Anthony Richards?
I said Will Anderson.
Will Anderson. So yeah, they have Will Anderson going to them number 3. I don't see the point of that trade if those are their projections. Yeah. Like why? Like okay, number 3, number 4. One's going to take a quarterback. One's going to take an edge rush, and just. Why trade? Why? What? There has to be something else along with the trade, I guess. There has to be other factors that are in the mix there.
Yeah, for sure. There has to be. I mean, I wish they would show you what perspective, and maybe we needed to get a different mock draft that would actually show you that aspect of things. But we're just going to go off Arizona has their original pick, and I really think that Will Anderson will go to the Cardinals. It's hard to pass up the best defensive player in the draft. Chicago would have been at number 2, number 3, and we would have never traded number 1. We would have had this guy.
Not only best defensive player in the draft, but on NFL.com or on ESPN.com, as you're looking through the option, he is ranked number 1 overall. Okay. Obviously, a quarterback's going to get taken because that's just teams need a quarterback right now. But he is the number 1 prospect in the country right now for the NFL draft. We have picked numbers 2 and 3 being CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. But Will Anderson is number 1. So when you run across a team that, hey, we have a quarterback, we want to beef up the defense, he's the first guy you're looking at. He's still the number 1 guy on the board. So I completely agree. Locking in Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama going to the Cardinals.
I love that. I love that pick for the Cardinals. So
next, we've got the Colts. Obviously, this had them trading, but like we just said, they traded back and forth, which is just dumb. But anyway, they have the Colts taking Anthony Richardson.
I disagree.
I don't know.
I think the Indianapolis Colts select Will Levis out of Kentucky. I think,
so you have them going quarterback still.
I still have them going quarterback, but Anthony Richardson and Will Levis has been a very hot topic argument because both of them are very similar quarterback. Both of them kind of underperformed in college, but both of them had a very great combine, had a great pro day. Will Levis just seems more of Indianapolis's speed when it comes to the quarterback position. I think they do go with Will Levis.
I can see it. I mean, aside from the fact that for some reason the Colts love their old washed-up veteran quarterbacks, maybe they're learning their lesson this year. Maybe since they do have the number 4 pick, they'll come to their senses and actually draft a guy. Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, though. It's kind of a toss-up. I don't know. I can see Will Levis in that spot. I can see them going with him. So I won't argue. I'll lock in Will Levis going to the Colts.
I like that move. I think that's a great move. And with Gardner Minshew being the only quarterback on the Indianapolis Colts roster, yeah, you got to do something.
Shout out Iowa State.
Hey. All right.
Number 5, we got Seattle Seahawks are on the board, right? That's not a trade. That's actually happening. Yes,
sir.
NFL.com has them taking Penn State's cornerback, Joey Porter. Thoughts?
I love this move, but this is a trade alert in my opinion.
Ooh.
I think Seattle trades down. You know how Tennessee wasn't too keen on Ryan Tannehill last year?
Sure.
At the end of the year, they benched Ryan Tannehill. Well, he was hurt, but then they never replaced him, and Josh Dobbs ended up playing those last couple of games for Tennessee. I think at this position, Tennessee's ready to move on from Ryan Tannehill, and I think this is like the perfect opportunity for the Tennessee Titans to move up, to go get that last quarterback in the draft and get an Anthony Richardson.
Okay. I don't know how to do that on here. How do I make a trade happen?
So you go to propose trade. And then you click on the Titans and then hit next. And then you click on the Seahawks and then you hit next.
Where's proposed trade? I don't see it. I'm at a list of names right now.
Oh, are you doing this on your phone?
No, I'm doing this on the computer.
Oh.
A second. Let me make it full screen and see if that. Nope. I'm just looking at a list of names. It's I don't know if you have to put trades in beforehand or what, but I do not have the capability to select a trade.
Well, I have the capability to select a trade. That's weird. I mean, we could go no trades then at this aspect if it won't
I like what you're saying with the trade and all, but I say let's just get to it with like, should things be as they are, who's picking who? Like
okay.
if the draft is untouched, who do we think each team is picking?
Okay. I mean, I can make the trade if you want on my side, but I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm indifferent. I think trading complicates it a lot. I mean, if we think it's going to happen and we truly think it's going to happen, I guess that's great. But I think that's a whole other realm of complexity to get into. I think it's easiest to just kind of go team by team. What do they need? Who do we think they'll take? Like as it stands.
Yeah, so if we're going that side right there, Seattle Seahawks are staying at their position. They need an offensive guard, edge, wide receiver, cornerback, and linebacker. So they have Joey Porter Jr. I disagree. I think Christian Gonzalez from Oregon is going to be their pick.
He definitely would be a lot better. I do want to say, though, I found the little button that says proposed trade. So
this trade.
I swear to God, it wasn't there a minute ago. I swear to God, it was not there 2 minutes ago.
Should we cut this part?
Oh, okay. So anyway, let's do it. Proposed trade. You think they're trading with the Titans?
I think they're trading with the Titans. And for a play like this, right? So the Seahawks, they don't need a running back because I would probably say a first round of Derrick Henry since Derrick Henry is on the trade block. But they don't need a running back. I don't think Seattle would be like, you know what, bring me Derrick Henry when they got Kenneth Walker. Because Kenneth Walker is kind of like that younger Derrick Henry. But I think what would happen is Seattle trades their 5 and Tennessee would give them their 11th, their first rounder for next year, and the 41st overall pick in the second round. And then you propose that trade, and that trade has been accepted on my side. Did that trade get accepted on your side?
I think so. I think it's reasonable enough. Like I said, that gets into a realm that like I don't often think about a ton, so I'm just kind of like, well, I don't know. But sorry, I'm messing around with it now. It is wonky on the laptop because there was no next button after I hit the team, so I'm pulling it up on my phone.
But I think we're in agreement with the Tennessee Titans moving up at number 5. I think we're in agreement. They're going to get that last quarterback in Anthony Richardson.
For sure. They need a quarterback. They're another team that's hurting for a quarterback a little bit. And I think it's definitely a good guess that they are going to bump up to try to get that. Obviously, Stroud and Young will be off the board. But hey, Anthony Richardson, number 3, that's a solid pick. Or even if the Colts
went with Richardson,
the proposed trade there, even if the Colts or Cardinals who did take Anthony Richardson over Will Levis, I think Will Levis still would go to the Titans anyway. Like they need a quarterback.
For sure. And, one thing with this is, like us, we went very quarterback heavy in the top 5 picks. We took 4 quarterbacks out of the top 5 picks. And that just goes to show you how deep of a draft class this is this year at the quarterback position. Like, we've talked about it throughout the year. Like, this is a very deep draft class. And I think, like, as it will continue, it'll get stronger and stronger throughout.
Definitely.
Did you get your trade figured?
It's frozen now. I hit next, and it just is. It's sitting here. But
well, we can move on to the Detroit
Lions. Just keep rolling.
We'll make a beat for that.
Okay. Next, we got the Lions. The Lions on deck.
The Detroit Lions are on the clock.
All right. Who do you think the Lions are taking?
So, like, I love that what this mock draft has. This mock draft has Lucas Van Ness from Iowa going number 6 overall. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I love Lucas Van Ness, and I think that's a great, surprise type pick for the Detroit Lions. But one thing I do know is the Lions just traded Jeff Okudah to the Falcons, their cornerback. They need a number 1 cornerback. And I think this number 1 quarterback is going to be Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. He's one of the best players in the draft, and he'll probably go to the Detroit Lions.
I think he's the top draft prospect for cornerbacks right now. I like that. I don't think they need any sort of offensive piece right now. They have a pretty set, pretty moving offense. I mean, they were starting to really hit their stride later in the season too. Like they were actually starting to put some points up on the board, which is not as well known for the Lions. Am I a little nervous about it? Sure. But
being in the NFC North, of course you're going to be nervous about that. It's going to be rough. But moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders at number 7. They have a lot of needs. They need an offensive tackle, defensive tackle, cornerback, strong safety, and offensive guard. Doesn't Jalen Carter just kind of scream out Las Vegas Raider to you?
Considering he's still on the board, this is a tough one because he was supposed to be, I think, that number 1 top spot. He was supposed to be above Will McDonald.
Yes.
But because of everything that happened, he got lowered. So the real question is, like, how much lower how many teams consider that heavily and push it aside before saying, you know what? Here's the number 1 guy to take on defense in all reality. Let's take him.
For sure. And, one thing with the Las Vegas Raiders is they take chances on players like this. Character issues all the time. Henry Ruggs ring a bell? He's not in the league anymore. I mean, Antonio Brown, Devontae Adams, like certain players like that, they take chances on these type of guys. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But I think Jalen Carter could be a Las Vegas Raider in my perspective.
If you're going to be a team based out of Las Vegas, then yeah, you're going to have some what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of guys. I think this is a good spot for them. They definitely need a lot of work on their team all around. Like I said, Jalen Carter was supposed to be the number 1 draft prospect in the first place. Just a little shadiness about him and his background. But like you said, that just screams Raider. So I think they have no problem taking him number 7.
Yeah, we'll lock her in. The Las Vegas Raiders, Jalen Carter. You probably got one of the best players in the draft if that happens. Moving on to number 8, the Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons, according to this, they take Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech edge rusher.
I like it. I have no disagreement with this. This is the 2nd best edge rusher in the draft. I know Chicago worked him out, and if he was probably at 9, I know Chicago probably would take him. I really like Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. I think he really compares well with Will Anderson. I mean, you could kind of throw in Lucas Van Ness there, kind of at that number 8 spot, but I don't think Lucas Van Ness had the production Tyree Wilson had at Texas Tech.
I would love to see Lucas Van Ness there. That's what a part of me wanted to say. That wanted to be my one argument was like, Tyree Wilson, okay, yeah, well, Lucas Van Ness? Okay. But I mean, I can see the argument not. I think that's just a little bit of Iowa bias coming out of me, wanting to see our guy go earlier on in the first round. He might go in the first round still, but I just wanted it to be soon. But
for sure,
I could see them wanting to take. Tyree Wilson is ranked a little bit above Luke Van Ness, so it makes sense to me. Lock it in.
Lock it in. Tyree Wilson, welcome to the Atlanta Falcons. All right, the pick we've been waiting for. Our number 9, Chicago Bears with the trade with the Carolina Panthers.
Whoa. Oh, okay. I thought you were getting into your prospective trade.
Oh, no.
They say, as of right now, this has the Chicago Bears taking Jalen Carter, which does make a lot of sense. They met with him. They liked him. They almost thought about taking him number 1 overall, and then everything happened with him. Then they traded their number 1 overall pick, still staying at number 9. And so, to me, if he's on the board when number 9 comes around,
we take him in a heartbeat. I don't care about character issues. We need to take this guy in a heartbeat. But in our alternate universe, we have Jalen Carter, a Las Vegas Raider.
Yep.
So that means 3 things in my perspective. That means we either trade down, which wouldn't hurt to grab more picks, or you take Paris Johnson Jr., old teammate of Justin Fields, left tackle, or you take the Chicago boy himself, Peter Skorninski from Northwestern, left tackle. That's the 2 that Chicago has met with. Ryan Poles loves to bring Chicago guys in, but if we stay at 9, I think Peter Skorninski, that's a reach. Because I think Johnson Jr. has definitely climbed, and he could be a top 10 pick. But I think Peter Skorninski is more of a middle teen pick. So I really think Ryan Poles is okay with either of these guys, but I think we trade down.
I'd be okay with either of these guys too. And it depends on how much you're trading down to. Like trading from 9 to how far down in this 32 position draft. Because you got to think too. We want linemen, but do we necessarily need the number 1 top lineman? Not per se. So we can always, you're suggesting, do we trade down or do we take Peter Skoronski or Paris Johnson Jr.? I definitely don't think we take either of those. I think it is a trade down situation. Linemen will be around late in the draft. There will be plenty of good linemen later on in the draft. Like you said, potentially even still there with however far we trade down in the first round. So I definitely think trading down is a good option, given that we have Jalen Carter off of the boards.
So I want to say, because I know we've reached out and they've reached out, the Pittsburgh Steelers, quite often. I know there's been a lot of conversation back and forth about us making a move with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have the 17th overall pick. I'm okay with moving back to 17. The question is, what are you going to also give Pittsburgh? And what I think is that Pittsburgh will give us our number 32 pick back that we gave them for Chase Claypool. So I think what would happen is we trade down with Pittsburgh, that we give them 9, we take 17, but we also take 32.
And I like that move. You got to have some kind of a
free.
Yeah, you definitely in this situation got to get some sort of extra out of it, some big bang for your buck. And I think we're building a team. I think we're building a young team. I think we want picks. I don't know who the Steelers have that we would possibly want for a pick at all. So, yeah, I'm saying straight, give us 2, we'll give you 1, just a little higher.
Yep, and I think that's kind of perfect that we get our original pick back. That was our original pick. Yeah. So get it back. I mean, Chase Claypool, he comes to Chicago for free, essentially, which I'm okay with because he didn't produce very much. So I'm okay with that.
He was definitely worth free for us.
Yes, 100%. I agree. So
that being said, we have the Steelers picking number 9. Then now, who are they taking?
So they need a wide receiver, offensive center, offensive tackle, edge rusher, and cornerback. They go with Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State, cornerback. And you know why I say that? Joey Porter, his dad was a longtime Pittsburgh Steeler. Longtime outside linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh needs a cornerback. Joey Porter's probably the second best cornerback on the draft board left. And I think Pittsburgh's like, you know what? It's time to make a move. Let's keep this legacy going with the Porters and bring them in.
I'm with it. I can get with it.
Joey Porter, welcome to Pittsburgh.
That's not going too far either.
No, I mean, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, it's right there. It's a hometown kid.
Not that matters at all to anybody other than maybe him getting a little bonus of still being around, but hey.
for sure. Up next is the number 10 runners-up of this league this year, the Philadelphia Eagles, picking at 10. Who do you got? They need
this draft. This draft actually has them trading with the Vikings. The mock draft, according to NFL.com.
And I would agree, but Will Levis is not there.
This is true. They do have the Vikings taking Will Levis. So.
Yeah, Will Levis isn't there in an alternate universe. And I think the Eagles stay there because they need a running back. Miles Sanders left. Miles Sanders went to Carolina. They don't have a running back anymore. Then if they want to keep up with the Joneses, they need to take the best running back on the board and Bijan Robinson out of Texas.
For sure. I think I totally agree with that. Taking a run back a little bit later in the round, you still have Jalen Hurts, who is a very proficient runner. So I think just pairing him with another stud running back just makes that run game unstoppable continuing on into this next year. It's hard to talk about running backs a little bit because they just are not as utilized as they used to be. It's hard to talk about a running back being a huge like game changer on any team's roster when it's like they matter, but do they? Because even when you think about it, the running backs don't create the holes. It's all up to the line, and that's part of the reason Miles Sanders did have so much success on the Eagles and was such a good back is because he had gaping ass holes from the number one offensive line in the NFL.
I agree, but I feel like there's always those certain running backs that kind of change the perspective. Like when Saquon Barkley came out, he was drafted number 4, and Derrick Henry, he was drafted in the first round. So some of these running backs that come out, and Bijan Robinson's just one of those guys. We covered it in our when we came up with our top 5 running backs. He's just a dynamic running back altogether. And what does a team take that has it all? And that's what I would say with the Philadelphia Eagles. They have it all at every position. Receiver, they're good at. Quarterback, they just signed Jalen Hurts to a big contract. A defense, they're stacked at. They lost a couple of key guys, but they can get that later in the second, third round. I think this is the perfect and ideal situation.
Definitely. I'm with it. I'm all about it. I think it's good for them. Because going back to what I said a little bit, honestly, the biggest difference a running back can make is just their shiftiness or their ability to make people miss. The line is going to give them a good hole to run through, but eventually they're going to come across somebody in that hole. Being a linebacker, being a safety coming down, they're going to run into somebody. So that's what's going to make the difference between your backs like Bijan Robinson and so-and-so whose name I don't even know because he's not a part of this draft. What do you do once you get through that hole? Can you make a guy miss? Can you get out in open space? Can you navigate through that line? Can you find the hole with your eyes and actually make moves to get there? That's the difference maker. So I think pairing up the number 1 running back in the draft with the number 1 offensive line on the Eagles, I think that is an unstoppable run game that is going to give any team they come across headaches.
And it helps Jalen Hurts out. It helps Jalen Hurts a lot. So so lock it in. Bijan Robinson, welcome to Philly. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Welcome.
I have the number 11 Seattle Seahawks because they traded with Tennessee and they traded down. So the Seattle Seahawks, they need an offensive guard, the edge, or a wide receiver. I think – who do you think? I've been going first a lot. Who do you think?
Oh, I don't know what I think. Okay. We're on the Seahawks again, yes?
We are on Seattle, yes.
And you said they need what exactly?
They need an edge rusher, offensive guard, or a wide receiver.
Well, there's 2 top options for them in that then. They have Miles Murphy from Clemson. That could be an edge rush for them. Their next option would be Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State as a receiver. You could also go a little further down, and you could take Jordan Addison from USC as a receiver as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think Miles Murphy's the best prospect left on the board for their needs, and I think that is who they'll go with at number 11. I think he's a steal at 11 because he's been projected a top 10 pick in a lot of mock drafts, had a really great combine. So, yeah, Miles Murphy, I think he's going to go at 11.
I'm with it. Locking it in.
Miles Murphy, welcome to Seattle.
Next, we got the Texans.
I like this pick because guess who they're going to pair Bryce Young up with? Our boy himself, Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Ooh.
I know I wanted him to go to Chicago. I think we traded down a little too far. And we with the DJ Moore, I don't think it'll happen. But I do think Jackson Smith-Njigba pairing up with Bryce Young is a good combination, really good combination.
That'll be an amazing pair to watch, definitely. Like you said, I think we've talked about it before. I'd love to have him in Chicago, but at the same time, like you said, we got DJ Moore, we got Darnell Mooney, we got Chase Claypool. Like we have a decent receiving core. Could we use like another guy, even just a rotational guy, to be kind of a stud number 2 or 3? Of course, always. But we have a somewhat solid receiving core in those guys, so it's definitely not first round priority to us right now. So yeah, I would love to have him, but I can understand why we'd let him kind of slip through the fingers a little bit. That being said, yeah, I think he'll pair up great with Bryce Young. Bryce Young is going to need somebody to throw to, because I don't even know who do the Texans have as receivers right now.
Nobody. I can't even name one right now. That's the worst part. So
I think I can picture somebody, but I don't know if he's still there or not. I don't know if I'm thinking of someone old. I want to say Will something.
Oh, Will Fuller is there.
Will Fuller.
Okay. Will Fuller is there. They traded Brandon Cooks to the Cowboys this offseason.
Yeah, that's just...
They don't even have Brandon Cooks. So, yeah, no, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba to Houston, I think that's a perfect move.
He would definitely fill that number 1 spot of Brandon Cooks, and then having Will Fuller as your number 2 or 3, depending on who the other receiver is going to be there. I think that's solid enough for Bryce Young to find some work.
For sure. Yeah, we'll lock it in.
Locking it in. Next, we got the Jets.
They need an offensive tackle, edge rusher, and they say quarterback, but let's just, in our alternative universe, say Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet.
They have Rodgers. They should have Rodgers. I think we'll be fine there. And by will be fine, I mean it's safe to assume maybe the Bears will be fine because he will be out of Green Bay. But
for sure.
Saying they need an offensive tackle makes me nervous for the one sole reason that the top prospect offensive tackle on the board right now is Paris Johnson Jr.
Yeah, and I do think if he falls to 13 and he falls out of the top 10, Jets are going to snag him in a heartbeat. He is going to be a New York Jet, and it kind of fits. I think he will be a great New York Jet. They have worked him out from what I've been reading. So I think Paris Johnson Jr., I think he just fits to be protecting Aaron Rodgers. So,
I don't like that.
Goodbye, our opportunity to have him.
If he's going to protect anybody, he should be protecting his former college quarterback on the Bears, not Aaron Rodgers, the enemy.
For sure. Hey, things happen. It is what it is.
Locked it in. Next, we have the New England Patriots on the board.
So, Patriots, they say they need a wide receiver, but we all know Bill Belichick. He's not going to take a receiver in the first round. But he will take a cornerback or an edge rusher or a linebacker. I do think Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, he was a great cornerback this year. He just seems like that type of New England Patriot pick. Kind of the grit, didn't go from a big college, big university. Like he went from the Big Ten, Illinois, kind of your lunch pail guy. I think Devin Witherspoon will be a New England Patriot.
And that is who NFL.com has as the New England Patriots 14th pick. So, yep, I'd agree with that. I think everything you said is correct. Bill Belichick ain't going to go receiving in the first round. Look at the New England receiver. They never have stud first-round receivers anyway. They have some kind of mediocre guys that they break out. Bill Belichick makes them good. He doesn't get good receivers. He makes good receivers. So I agree with you there. I think he's going to go a little bit defense, and I think Devon Witherspoon, that was difficult to say for some reason. I think he is a solid pick. He's the top defensive guy left, number 1 corner left, locking it in.
Yes, sir.
All right, next we got Green Bay. We got Green Bay?
Oh, yep. God. Green Bay Packers 15. And this is gonna break your heart because
I know, I just saw.
They have they need a wide receiver and they need an edge rusher. And
oh no. Don't break my heart twice.
And that Jackson Smith-Njigba, the best receiver, is off the board, but we do have a really great edge rusher from the Big Ten. And Lucas Van Ness, I think he is going to be a Green Bay Packer. And it fits. I hate to say it, But we've watched this guy play so many times, and he belongs in the Midwest. And he belongs in a team that's going to be gritty, that plays outdoors, that plays physical, that plays tough. And as much as I hate to say it, being a Chicago Bears fan, I think he would be a great Packer. Am I wrong or am I right? And I think it's a player the Packers would grab.
Yeah, First of all, the Packers would be absolute fools not to take Luke Van Ness at this point.
Yes.
But I just don't like it. I don't want him sacking our quarterback. I don't want him sacking the Bears. He is going to go eat up sacks on the Bears, and I don't like that.
Oh, I know. But I really think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, if they need what they need, he's the next top prospect there. They had him. The NFL.com has him going way higher. So if he's still around by this point, then he's going. He's going the first team that needs an edge rush.
Yep, I think we take Lucas Van Ness with the Green Bay Packers.
All right, I'm locking it in.
That hurt my heart. I think how to say a prayer. Oh man. So Washington Commanders are up next.
All righty. What do they need?
They need a quarterback, a linebacker, and an edge rusher.
Ooh.
Cornerback, linebacker, and an edge rusher.
None of which are the top guys left, honestly.
I think they trade out of this pick. And I think Chicago trades up. Because I think Chicago has a guy in mind that's still on the board, and they're afraid Washington will take him. Either that, or I think Washington goes with Osiris Torrance and does a little bit of a reach at the guard position.
Osiris Torrance, where is he at? I don't even see him in the top.
He is offensive guard. He's the best prospect.
Here he is. He's at position 39. That's way down the list on here.
Right. And this mock draft has Osiris Torrance going at pick 16.
They do.
So I really think, that's their number one need. Sometimes you go get that number one need.
Yeah, regardless of position. I mean, if you need it, if that's your – I don't know if that's their only need per se, but if that's your only need and you need it, don't waste your time with trying to trade around picks and you're just creating further risks for yourself at that point. If you know you need a guy, even if he's further down on the list, go get your guy.
It's either that or I see Kansas City trading up because they lost Orlando Brown.
Ooh.
But I think Washington goes with Osiris Torrance.
All right. I'll lock it in. Osiris Torrance.
Locking it in.
Next we got, the Steelers, but the Bears on the
Bears are back up. I love this. I love this pick because I think we get the guy that we wanted the whole time. And Ryan Poles is just a magician at his craft. And we get a Chicago guy out of Northwestern and Peter Skorninski. I like it.
Protection for Justin Fields. I love that move. I mean, I would love it at number 9, honestly, even if that happened. Like we just said, no matter how far kind of down the line your guy is, if you need something, go get your guy.
Yes, and with Paris Johnson Jr. being off the board, it makes that decision so much easier because I love both of the guys. Like, I think both of these prospects have a lot of potential and they could do a lot of big things. But Peter Skorninski being a Chicago guy, coming to Chicago, I think it just fits like a glove.
I think it does. I will say, I would prefer to have Paris Johnson Jr. just having that previous relationship with Justin Fields. I don't think it's as huge a deal as having a quarterback receiver relationship or even a quarterback running back relationship or anything like that. But still, I think being able to come back and protect the guy you've already been protecting for years is just helpful.
Yeah, 100%. I agree because that language, they know, what they want. I think it works out. But Peter Skorninski, we've seen how he played with Northwestern. He was amazing. So, and I'm just going to be honest here. I was with the Washington pick. That is why I didn't have Kansas City trading up because I could have had Kansas City trading up. But I was a little bit of Bears biasy there. But
it's that hopefulness thinking a little bit. Like, you're like, this probably won't actually happen. It's almost like there's a 50-50 shot, or even a 40-60 shot. And in your head, you're like, I'm going to go with the 40 because it ends up a little better for us. So,
and we get our 32nd pick back. It works out.
It does. All right. Peter Skorsky going to the Bears. I like it.
So, pick 18. The Detroit Lions are back on the clock. I think they go Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama, and I think there's not really much anybody could say about this. That's their second need. They've already taken Christian Gonzalez earlier in the first. I think that's who we had them pick, right? Yeah, Christian Gonzalez. So I think shoring up that secondary for a really offensive-led team last year is going to really help Detroit, and that's terrifying because if they get both those guys, it's like, fuck. What are we doing?
So now we're talking Detroit has a bit of an offense that they've been building the past couple of years. Now they're starting to get a little bit of a secondary right as we're going to start getting a little bit of a receiving core. I don't like this. I don't like how good the Detroit Lions are starting to look on paper.
Me neither. And you know what's the crazy part is I think Chicago and Detroit are the most improved teams out of the NFC North this year. And I think for the next 3 to 5 years, it won't be the Packers and the Vikings fighting for the 1-2 spot. It will be the Bears and the Lions fighting for the 1-2 spot. And I'm excited to see that flip because, as much as I dislike our division, I don't mind the Lions. If they get good, I might mind the Lions. I might not like them, but right now I still think the lovable Lions, right?
It's just because you see that kind of long-term down on its luck team that's not doing so great. And in your head, you just want to go with a little bit of an underdog story. It's like, hey, I almost start to feel bad for this team to the point of like, oh, can't we just let them win some games? Like, not against us or anything. Right. But come on, somebody drop it.
For sure. So let's lock in Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama.
Locking in. Next, we got Tampa Bay up at pick 19.
So they could go a couple of ways here. They need a quarterback, edge rusher, and corner. And, I don't know if really they need that quarterback because they have Baker Mayfield. Seems like they're pretty set on giving Baker a year to kind of figure it out. But I think they do go corner, and I think they go Kelee Ringo out of Georgia.
Kelee Ringo. Okay. 22 prospects in the draft right here. I think that's a good move. We saw what Georgia's defense did all year long to everybody. So any one of those guys out of Georgia that was playing in that defense, it's a solid pick. You can't argue with it.
Yeah, and he ran the second fastest 40 in the NFL draft. I think Kelee Ringo's or second fastest 44 DBs in the NFL draft or NFL combine. So I think he's a really solid pick. He had a lot of production at Georgia. So I think we should lock that in.
Locking it in.
All right. The Seahawks.
Back on the board.
They have the Buffalo Bills trading for the pick. I don't think that'll happen. I think Seattle will run with the opportunity to pick twice in the same draft. And I think they go with Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame as an edge rusher.
Let's see. What do they need? They need one of the things they need, though, is a receiver. Jordan Addison and how do you say his name? Quentin Johnson are both still on the board for receiver.
Oh! And they took Miles Murphy. I'm sorry. They took Miles Murphy in our alternate universe. You are correct. I think, and if you're looking at it, they need another big type receiver like DK Metcalf. Quentin Johnston. I can't believe he's fallen this far in the draft.
At one point, he was the number one receiver looking to come out of the draft.
Yeah, and then Jackson Smith and Najaba had such a great combine that he just balled out and he took it. But I think Quinn Johnston gets picked by Seattle, and I think he pairs up very well and very nicely with DK Metcalf.
All right, I'm with it.
Lock her in.
Now we got the Chargers on the board at pick number 21.
I like this. I think Jordan Addison comes off the board here. No. I think Broderick Jones from Georgia, offensive tackle. Last offensive tackle left. That I would say is a first-round pick. I think Broderick Jones will be a perfect Los Angeles Charger.
Yep, I'm with it. Get a little protection for Herbert. And you've got some receivers. Justin Herbert's got guys to pass to. He'll be fine there. So, yeah, I think taking a lineman, giving him a little protection, it's the same Bears strategy we're going through right now. So, I'm with it.
Yeah. All right.
Ravens.
We have the Baltimore Ravens. I So their team needs are
receiver, cornerback, guard, tackle, so just line, and defensive tackle.
Yes. I don't think they take any because I think they shot themselves in the foot with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson is not going to be a Baltimore Raven. And what do you do, though? Because they lost everybody. Like, every first-round quarterback's off the board. Besides one guy that is flirting with being a first-round quarterback. And he's been flirting with being a first-round quarterback all year. Hendon Hooker.
Oh.
Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. He was a very great quarterback until he tore his ACL. And he would have been a top 10 pick. He was a Heisman front runner. He beat Alabama. Tennessee was undefeated until he got hurt. I think Hendon Hooker goes to the Baltimore Ravens and tries to replace Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think Lamar wants out of Baltimore. They did. I don't know, though, because they just had the whole OBJ trade. And a part of me feels like he might be staying due to that trade.
Okay, yeah. And, what do you want for the perspective of our draft? Because we don't have a decision by draft night. So I don't know what Baltimore is going to do, if they're going to play it safe and say, no, we're not going to take a quarterback, or take a quarterback in the second, third round, like a Max Duggan or a Dorian Thompson, a quarterback kind of like that.
I think if Baltimore really wants to put their faith or whatever, almost like the Bill Belichick style of look at the team I'm building for you, I think if they want to show their faith in Lamar Jackson, they're not going to take a first-round quarterback that he would potentially have to compete with or be like, oh, so you want me out? Are you deciding I am gone now?
Okay, so if we're going on the perspective that the Baltimore Ravens wants to put their faith in Lamar Jackson, they take Jordan Addison at 22. They take him out of USC. I mean,
and that would just be more incentive to keep Lamar around. Like, hey, like you want guys to throw to? We'll give you some guys to throw to.
Yeah, I brought in OBJ. You got Jordan Addison now. You got Nelson Aguilar that we also brought in. You got Mark Andrews. There's some weapons there. Let's see what you can do. So you're right. I think that's a good move.
Locking in Jordan Addison, going to the Baltimore Ravens.
You convinced me. I was ready to take Hendon Hooker. All right, the Minnesota Vikings. So cornerback, wide receiver, safety, linebacker. All right. So, this is also
a lot of those around.
No, this is also another one of those teams that could take a quarterback because they aren't as happy with Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins hasn't done enough to lose his job yet. So it's kind of a hard position that they're in right now.
They don't need a quarterback.
Right.
They need a quarterback now about as much as they did 2 or 3 years ago when they first got
Kirk Cousins.
And
all the great wide receivers are gone at this point. I don't think you take a quarterback or a wide receiver in the first round. I think you go Cam Smith out of South Carolina. I think they need a cornerback. He's the best one on the board left. I think you go Cam Smith.
They needed a corner. Was secondary one of their weaknesses?
Yeah, that was their number one weakness.
Okay. Well, definitely. If it's their number one weakness, that's the number one guy left, number one prospect that we have not picked in our universe here. So, yeah, I think that's undoubtedly a good move for them. We need a corner. Corner is the best guy available at the moment. Just in general, I think that's a perfect pick.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll lock her in.
Locking it in. The Jaguars.
I like this. I think they're getting a young guy to help out Trevor Lawrence. Their second need is a tight end. So the Jaguars, they need a cornerback, tight end, safety, offensive guard, or D tackle. And one of the best tight ends left on the board is Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. And I think Michael Mayer is going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I
can agree with that too. I think Lawrence needs a little bit more weapons to throw to, not only throw to, but one that can block a little bit as well. A tight end just seems like a good move for him in general. And if you're picking a tight end, Michael Mayer, it's about the best one you can go with right now.
Yeah, it can't get much better. So, New York Giants. So, New York Giants are now on the clock at pick 25. They need a cornerback. They also need a running back, offensive guard, safety, and linebacker. I don't know why they need a running back. They have Saquon Barkley. I know they franchise tagged him. Cornerback, offensive guard, or safety. There's not many of those left. I don't like them picking here. I also could see a team like the Buccaneers Oh no, you know what? I could see a team like Washington trading back up into the first round to pick Hendon Hooker here at 25 because I don't think the Giants really need a player, but I know Washington needs a quarterback, and I think Hendon Hooker goes in the first round, and I think the late first round, Hendon Hooker will fall. What do you think?
I can see what you're saying there. One of the options they do need is a corner, though, right?
Yeah.
And there is a decent corner still on the board, pretty high up. Deontay Banks.
Yeah.
Out of Maryland. That could be the move they go with. Should they stay where they are, or should they want to get something in the first round?
Yeah, and I think that's a possibility too. So like we could lock that in for the Giants. Like we could lock them in, not trading out and getting Deontay Banks from Maryland. Let's do it.
It's weird to see Hendon Hooker going this far, like dropping this far down and like not going. But like we said, when you got a need, it's hard to trade out of getting what you need, especially when one of the top things available right now, like, is a cornerback. You got a cornerback. The only guy better right now is Isaiah Foskey, which is an edge rush, which you don't need that, so you skip over. I don't even know who that is. It surprises me.
Yeah, he's a decent defensive end from Notre Dame. But the Dallas Cowboys are now officially on the clock at 26. This is a D tackle, offensive guard, wide receiver, linebacker, and running back. But I don't really think I think Tony Pollard will take this. I think Brian Breeze. out of
Clemson.
Clemson, or I think Dalton Kincaid from Titan because they lost Dalton Schultz. So I think Dalton Kincaid, but I also think they could get a Sam Laporta in the second round and actually get Brian Breeze in the first. And Brian Breeze is a first round quality player. I think because I think you get Sam Laporta late second round. So I don't think they go Dalton Kincaid right away off the bench. I want to say
I agree with that. I like the idea of replacing Dalton with Dalton, and obviously for the sense of replacing a tight end, not just because they have the same name. But I think that's a good move for him. But like you said, I think Laporta would honestly be kind of a good fit for the Cowboys,
and we mentioned
kind of be a perfect fit.
Yeah, we mentioned it last week on the podcast too that he would be a good fit for the Cowboys. So we'll lock in Brian Breeze because he did fall. He fell because earlier in the year he was projected a top 15 pick. So the Buffalo Bills are on the clock at 27.
What do they need right now? Do they need anything, honestly?
Offensive guard, cornerback, linebacker, safety, or wide receiver. Nothing, and I think this is that perfect team to trade out of the first round. I think this is that team now that you can finally say, okay, Hendon Hooker. And who do you think Hendon Hooker goes to? So if you look at their quarterbacks right now, very quarterback needy teams. So Panthers already got C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young went to the Texans. Will Levis went to the Colts. Anthony Richardson went to the Titans. So you got a couple of quarterback needy teams left. You have the Washington Commanders because they are rolling with Jacoby Brissett. You got potentially the 49ers shocking the world and taking a quarterback because Brock Purdy is going to be out for 2023, and they're talking about trading Trey Lance. You got
I think it's a good move for them.
That wouldn't be a bad move for them. You got Minnesota, not happy with Kirk Cousins. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not as happy with Baker Mayfield, but they're going to roll the year with him. And I would say the Atlanta Falcons, like question marks with Taylor Heineke and question marks with Desmond Ridder. So,
and I think too with the Falcons,
they miss out on Lamar Jackson.
I think too with the Falcons there, they do have Desmond Ridder kind of sitting under Heineke, but I think it's sketchy to bring in a guy like Hendon Hooker and not have him sit for a year and learn. Like if he's not already going in the top 5 picks, like our other quarterbacks, or even just top 10 picks, like our other 5 quarterbacks or however many there were, I don't think you necessarily want that being your starting guy. So when you're talking about like, oh, screw Trey Lance, we'll go with Hendon Hooker. Screw Kirk Cousins, we'll go with Hendon Hooker. I think that's a dumb thing to say. So I think he definitely needs to go to a team that has a decent enough guy to sit under, which could even still be the Vikings. I'm not saying the Vikings are out. They could easily bring him in, say, all right, Kirk, you got one more year to train up your replacement and you can either ball out and maybe you'll play 2 or 3 years before we put him in, or maybe we're not satisfied after this last year and we'll put him in right away.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I know a team that I have in my head that has a great mentor as a quarterback that can also get the job done. And that is the Washington Commanders and Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is that perfect bridge quarterback, that perfect mentor that's going to get your team, is going to be a great locker room guy. We've seen it in the past. He can hold his own. He's actually a decent quarterback. And you know how much Hendon Hooker is going to learn from Jacoby Brissett? The world. Jacoby Brissett learned from Tom Brady. Jacoby Brissett is like your perfect mentor.
And I think that's a great place for him to go. Once again, just exactly as I said, that's a great place for him to go, sit under Jacoby Brissett, and give Brissett kind of the same deal. Like, hey, if you ball out like you did with the Browns, we'll keep you in for a couple of years. You know, like we'll let you play. We'll make this a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. Hendon Hooker can wait. You know, he can sit and he can wait. That is fine. But if you're balling out, you will play. The minute you don't, okay, we'll get your replacement in there. That's fine. That's what you trained him for.
For sure. And so what I traded on our mock draft is I traded Sam Howell, a first-round pick, and a third-round pick next year for this 27th overall pick, which I think that's pretty reasonable for being a late first. And the Washington Commanders are now officially on the clock, and Hendon Hooker, welcome to the Washington Commanders. I think we can lock it in.
I'm locking it in.
I like that move, though. I like from everything we did say, this is like the perfect move. I think this is one of the perfect moves in the draft.
Yeah, I think that one works out wonderfully. All right, next on deck, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bungles.
Who do they need? They need a corner, they need an edge rush, any O-line, and a tight end.
So NFL mock draft, they have them taking Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer's gone, so we got a couple options. Dalton Kincaid, because I think he is worth a first-round pick. But also, what about Nolan Smith, the fastest edge rusher in the NFL Combine this year? I think
that's what I was just looking at. And going back to what I said earlier, he's a guy from that Georgia defense.
Yes.
When you are talking about, like, we need a defensive guy, and you see a guy from Georgia still on the board, you got to give that an extra pair of eyes because Georgia's defense was just so dominant. They were the number one defense in college football, Iowa being number 2 in my head. But still, like, how can you not take – you need an edge rush? You've got a Georgia edge rush, like you said, fastest 40 time?
Yeah, fastest 40 time. So, like, I really think that's the perfect move for the Cincinnati Bengals. And you pair him up with Trey Hendrickson. Oh, my God, and Sam Hubbard. That Bengals front seven have been amazing the last couple of years. Add one more piece, Cincinnati. Do it.
That'll be deadly. That'll be a deadly combo to go against.
Yes, Nolan Smith, welcome to Cincinnati Bengals. I'm proud of you.
Next up, we got the Saints.
I like this. So, the Saints. They need a D-tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver, and also a tight end. I don't think Dalton Kincaid goes there because they got Taysom Hill and and Jawan Johnson. They're both fully converted. Why not Will McDonald from Iowa State? I think this is kind of like that perfect kind of edge rusher. We've seen a lot of edge rushers go in this first round, but Will McDonald, like coming into his senior year, he was projected a top 10 pick, and he's fell from his senior year, but that's just because he had a little bit of a down year. I think he's still projected a first-round pick. He ran well at the Combine. He was good at the Combine. I think Will McDonald.
Well, and people have down years. I mean, we even saw what happened to Brock Purdy in his draft class and everything. You know, junior year, balled out, absolutely great, huge draft capital. He dropped all the way down to Mr. Irrelevant, but yet he gets in the game, and look what he does. Like, obviously, he's the same Brock Purdy we saw his junior season. He just didn't have a great senior year. It happens. I still think, Will McDonald is a solid guy to take for any defense, and just being an Iowa State guy, I'm like, pick him.
Yeah, and one thing with this too is like the Saints are known to take Iowa type players. Last year in the first round, they took Trevor Penning, the left tackle out of Northern Iowa. Right. So like this would be another kind of common trend of the Saints taking another Iowa type guy. So Will McDonald, I really do think he'll be a perfect fit in New Orleans.
Locking it in.
I love it. All right. The New York Jets. Oh, I'm sorry. The Philadelphia Eagles at pick 30. I think so. They need a cornerback, edge rusher, safety, D tackle, and linebacker. I think it's got to be Kalijah Cansey from Pittsburgh. He's a good D tackle. He's been kind of fallen in our draft because in this mock draft they had him going a lot higher. But I really think Kalijah Cansey will be a great pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. For a team that has everything and they have 2 first-round picks, add more depth on that defensive line because Fletcher Cox isn't always going to be there.
Yeah, I'm with it. I don't know. I don't recognize these names much anymore. We're kind of out of the realm of guys I know here. I think it's as good a pick as any in that sense.
For sure. All right. Pick number 31, then, the Kansas City Chiefs. Because if everybody forgot, the Miami Dolphins lost their first-round pick due to tampering with Tom Brady this past year. So there's only 31 picks in the first round. So the Kansas City Chiefs at pick 31, they need the left or offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge rusher, defensive tackle, and safety. So at this point, moving on into this draft, I really think Darnell Wright is the best left tackle available, and he would be a perfect spot to kind of replace Orlando Brown that went to Cincinnati.
You lose a piece, you bring in a new piece. I think it's a good replacement.
Another guy I also think of is Jalen Hyatt. Which
I am surprised is still around. I can't believe we didn't have him going somewhere else. It makes sense. We picked other top receivers. We just had receivers not going much in the first round, which is all right. But I do like Jalen Hyatt, going early.
Yeah, I really do think Darnell Wright is the right pick for the Kansas City Chiefs to protect Patrick Mahomes, replace what you lost. I think that's got to be the move.
I'm with it. Because who do the Chiefs currently have standing as their receiving core? They have Travis Kelce, obviously. And
so the Chiefs right now, so they did lose McCole Hardman.
Yep.
They, as of right now, they have Marquise Valdez-Scantling. He had an okay year. Kadarius Toney, Richie James, Justin Watson, and Justin Ross, and Irmair Smith-Marset. I don't know if you remember Smith-Marset, but Smith-Marset is the receiver that played for Chicago last year that lost us the Minnesota Vikings game trying to play hero ball.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is who Kansas City has at receiver. But I really
hearing that, a part of me just has a hard time thinking hey, who is Patrick Mahomes throwing to right now? Travis Kelce can't be your only guy out there. Like you said, you got some other kind of receivers. Most names I didn't recognize, which is not a good thing. I kind of like Hyatt going.
Okay, we'll roll with Jalen Hyatt going at pick 31. I think that is a great move. If I'm being honest, the reason I was fighting it so hard is because I wanted to do Chicago Bears pick 32. And I wanted to select Jalen Hyatt with our pick. But we will roll with Jalen Hyatt going to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that is actually a smart move there. Pick 32 for the Chicago Bears. That's left. I think at this point, there's a couple of guys. I'm not going to name an actual pick because we didn't go into the second round. But I want to go edge rusher Isaiah Foskey or Dalton Kincaid to pair up with Cole Kmet. Or maybe we go with a wide receiver and we go with Josh Downs or another wide receiver type like that.
And I don't hate taking a chance on a wide receiver here. Zay Flowers, maybe. I think he's the next top-rated receiver in this list. But just somebody to be a rotational guy, you got to give guys breaks sometimes. Maybe someone will get hurt. We'll need a backup or something. I think we need a good couple of guys that can go in and be decent rotational replacements, give some guys some rest, and even just be a young guy to train up because who is our oldest receiver? We do have a pretty young receiving core, don't we?
Yeah, our oldest receiver is probably
Claypool or Mooney, right?
Probably DJ Moore.
Oh, no? Well, I didn't think.
Or St. Brown, maybe?
Okay, St. Brown is probably definitely the oldest, but I'm thinking of our more starting, because St. Brown would be that one of those rotational guys that would definitely be in there.
So DJ Moore is 26. St. Brown is 26 also.
Oh.
Darnell Mooney is 25. And Velus Jones is
he's young.
24.
Yeah.
And Chase Claypool is 24.
We have some pretty young guys, but still, I still don't hate bringing in a younger receiver. He's only like 4 years younger, maybe, than our oldest guy, but still, like, younger receiver, just to kind of learn a little bit. Like, he'll get a good beat down for things, and by the time that he might actually be a top starting guy, or maybe he'll get traded at some point for some decent draft capital, but he'll be trained. I don't know. I think taking a receiver is a decent move.
Yeah, I think so too. I was going to say, or you double down on the offensive line and take another offensive lineman,
which I also don't hate. I also don't hate taking some more O-line, just getting Justin that protection.
Or you take Jahmyr Gibbs, running back. I know we lost David Montgomery. I know that's not really our big move there, but Jahmyr Gibbs is our prospect 35 on the list.
You could use another solid replacement. I mean, not to replace Montgomery per se, but to replace Khalil Herbert's role in an offense with Montgomery.
Yes, 100%. So, there's a lot of ways we could go with that 32nd pick. Let's see if we actually even have a 32nd pick. I mean, this is all skeptical because we traded it away for Chase Claypool. This is us just, hoping we do get that back. But
that's true. This is a super hypothetical pick because currently we're just sitting at number 9, and that's that.
Yes.
Yep. But, all right. This has gone almost longer than some regular episodes, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you guys think, who you think your top 5 take-ins will be. Let us know whatever trades you think might happen in this draft. And we'll post our typical Sunday/Monday episode whenever you guys normally watch. We'll still do a full episode doing some NBA recap. Kings are 2-0, just going to point that out. But
hey, they're playing well. I enjoy that. And I don't want to talk about the Bucks.
Well, you're going to on Sunday, so tune in then, everybody.
All right, guys. One thing I got to say, since it was all Chicago Bears. Bear down.